Welcome to AstroTwins Radio, your cosmic GPS for life, love, and everything written in the stars. We're Tali and Ophira Edut, the AstroTwins, here to decode the astrology of the moment and help you navigate your destiny like a pro.
Hey, everyone. It is week of July 27th to August 2nd. Tali here in Seattle, Ophie in New York. And we are really twinning today because I had to comb my hair out and use a blow dryer. I have to say, whenever I do that, we do look more alike than usual.
It's a rare event.
Didn't you say you thought that I was you in the Zoom window when you first logged on?
It was a mirage. This is what happens when major planetary transits happen. You don't recognize yourself. So
I know. I usually just let my hair air dry, but I was in LA for a week, and true confessions, I forgot my brush and I just literally did not brush my hair for 5 days in a row just to see what would happen with the curls. And it looked good, but then I was like, okay, enough's enough. This is about to get kind of scrappy. So I reached the end of my hippie girl experiment there, and now I look like
for about a day. For a day. Let's be honest, we're not fans of brushing our hair. We're sages.
I feel like you always do, though.
No, not only. No, I guess I'm more likely to blow dry for the camera. It's true,
but it's weird. Like, we do have different textured hair. Like, mine is curly, and yours
does not do that.
But I wonder if that has to do with the 80s perm, because you never got one. And I used to give myself occasional home perms. Never a professional.
Actually change your,
we need
you
to
had a
ask
perm.
Joe Blackwell.
I was pregnant. That's the difference. But yeah, it could be. I know.
Not at the same time, though. Perm in high school, pregnant. Yeah, pregnant at 36. Both
pregnant and permed. It sounds like a 1980s Lifetime movie or something.
Permed and pregnant. The X-Files, the Gen X-Files. There we go. Well, here we are. We're recording on Monday. We had to let the shock waves ripple through yesterday, Sunday. Normally record on Sunday, but we are standing at the cusp, the opening cusp of a brand new era. Yesterday, in the evening, the lunar nodes switched signs, and we've been talking about these on the last few episodes. The lunar nodes are 2 points in the sky. Mathematically calculated, they correspond with the eclipses, and in astrology, from Vedic astrology to Kabbalistic astrology to modern Western astrology, they represent this line of fate, this path from the karmic energy that we bring in from our past lives, that's the South Node, to this new language we're learning, this destiny point, or the growing edge, the North Node. They're always in opposite signs. And, you have them in a pair of opposite signs at your time of birth. We have a calculator that we'll drop that in the show notes for you to figure that out. But collectively, they change every 18 to 20 months and shift our global consciousness. Since January 11th, 2025, they were in Virgo and Pisces, Virgo being the karmic South Node, the issues we're collectively working on, and Pisces being the North Node, this awkward Duolingo, level 1 new language we're learning. And now they're shifting. The nodes are always retrograde, so they move backward through the zodiac. So now we're moving into the Leo South Node and the Aquarius North. We're going to talk about that a bunch because that's the main event of this week, besides Wednesday. Wednesday's a big day. It's the day of miracles, the annual Jupiter Kazemi. Kazemi means in the heart of the sun in Arabic, or translation, it's also when the sun and Jupiter are at the same degree in the zodiac. That happens once a year, most years.
Conjunct, it's called.
Yep, conjunct. So this year, for the first time since 2014, it's happening in Leo. the same day we have an Aquarius full moon. So we really are getting this Leo to Aquarius back and forth vibe going on. And wow, what a pathway to cross.
Yeah. We're heading into eclipse season in August too. So eclipses and the ecliptic are the subject du jour. So the nodes are formed by we measure Western astrology from what it looks like to us here on Earth. So it looks like the sun is going around the Earth. We know it's the other way around, but there's a pathway called the ecliptic that is the imaginary path of the sun around Earth. And the moon, where the moon crosses it with its orbit, are 2 points that we call the nodes. I think of it like almost like two hula hoops when you see someone double hula hooping and they touch in a couple different points, or like one of those diagrams of an atom with the electrons spinning around.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it involves the sun, which is your essence and your visibility, the earth, which is what anchors you, and the moon, which is the inner you, the parts of you that are hidden and maybe even hidden to you. So the nodes will bring certain things to light that we didn't know about ourselves, whether we're discovering them or as a new part of ourselves that we develop, or something in our unconscious or subconscious from past lives or ancestry through the South Node that we weren't aware of, or something that we've kind of over relied on. The South Node is sort of like an overdeveloped muscle, where the North Node is a new muscle. I also use that metaphor. Yeah.
I like that one. And one of the ways that I think the Virgo South Node really played out, well, two ways that I see that primarily playing out. One was this evangelical religious fervor that has come up. Virgo, the Pope Leo is a Virgo, interestingly enough. Virgo can rule those doctrines, those strict laws. It is the sign of selfless service. And Pisces can rule faith in the unseen, the invisible realm, God, the universe. There are a lot of people who have embraced spirituality, but there's also, a way that I think religion has been used to manipulate and weaponized against people that we haven't seen for a long
Christianity, Judaism, Judaism,
these religious wars that are happening around the world and in our country, the conservative attacks that have happened since right as Trump got inaugurated, here comes this. And again, if you're a Virgo, we're not saying you're like this. I always have to put that disclaimer. But the South Node often shows the shadow of the sign. And, that rigidity, that coldness, that unyielding, critical, controlling energy that can show up with Virgo. Virgo is the sign of the Virgin. It's interesting that there have been, it's also the sign of kind of the maiden. And one of the creepiest things that I think has come is this new sort of campaign in the United States to have women have babies earlier, white women, this kind of
lots of babies, don't go to college, trust them. It's the trad wife. It's either the chicken coop, which is also very Virgo, animals and farming and nature, like get chickens, have babies, make sourdough, is like became this trifecta for women to opt out of the stresses of modern life. It was presented, whereas
I mean, it's so, again,
it's also very delusional.
That's what I was going to say. The illusion of Pisces painted over that, and even what's happening with the SAVE Act and the attempt to have the one family, one vote. You don't need to, there's just been this brainwashing and conservative trend that's leaking into the mainstream now. Erica Kirk and Turning Point USA being a big part of that. But
Stephen Miller is a Virgo, if poster child for the Virgo South Node for sure.
And his wife has been really, his wife has been
Libra,
promoting teenage pregnancy, essentially, literally. It's so interesting. Remember when we were getting perms, the worst thing that could happen is that you got pregnant as a teen. Now this racist doctrine wants more white babies. So, white women, get married early and have as many more babies than than you know how to afford. That was advice from Erica Kirk.
Yeah, have more babies than you can afford. I mean, it's just outright dumb, but the brainwashing is underway, or at least it's vocally and unapologetically.
It's not just
said.
dumb, it's damaging too, because the life that these young women are going to have when they're alone, being single with mothers with more babies than they can count, is probably not going to be a Christian one.
No, they'll be shunned or abandoned by their religious institutions if they actually dare to get a divorce and manage to do it without being harmed by their abusive husbands, controlling abusive husband. We've seen this too many times. There was just a murder-suicide of a TikTok influencer who outed her husband for pedophilia. He was a high school teacher. And I mean, it's so, if that fantasy was actually true, that would be a different story, but we know it isn't. And yet a whole new generation, or all ages, are either reinforcing the brainwashing, doubling down on it, or buying it, I guess. So,
or going the opposite direction of 4B. Now, the second way that I see these nodes playing out is the Virgo South Node, which has ended now. So hopefully we'll come out of this trance. We have a new trance to go into to work through. Sorry, guys, we don't get off the hook of doing our karmic lifting, but was with regards to health care and MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, which is RFK Jr.'s, basically his rallying cry. There's measles outbreaks all over people are grifting everyone on peptides and supplements,
all the body
vitamins,
control peptides. And who was the guy that has it's not clavicular, is another guy who biohacked, and he was like, my stomach is basically eating itself from all the peptides and biohacking and experimenting I did on my body. It's interesting that so many men also
Virgo
got
rules
into
digestion.
that.
Oh yeah, the perfectionism and body image delusions of Virgo and Pisces. I'm not sad to see those go. Now, have there been some great developments? Are some of those incredible? Have they made a difference? They're finding out all sorts of things about GLP-1s and, their usefulness for menopause, for inflammation. It's just everything in the right dose. It's the elusive.
Well, that's the Pisces flip side of Virgo is the cold, hard, harsh data, which is another part of it. And then Pisces is Pisces is the veil. Sometimes it's the healing effect. Sometimes it's the illusion and the confusion. So let's not forget about the obvious Virgo development.
Data centers and water, Pisces water shortages happening.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, you sent me something, who knows if it was partially propaganda or not, but the way China, the way they use AI, that it's heavily regulated and that they power the data centers with solar and wind in the desert. And
whether it's a lie or not, it sounds like a really great idea if it would work. So,
totally.
Because I've been working in our human design for astrology course, which uses the I Ching, I'm getting lots of China stuff in my feed because it's a 3,000-year-old Chinese system. So now the algorithm thinks it should be sending me invitations to move to China and see how actually the communism there is really working for people. So who knows if any of that is true or not. But whether it is or isn't, it's the idea that we need alternative solutions to this growing wealth gap that has happened is right on time with the North Node and the full moon going into Aquarius this week. Saturn has also gone retrograde on Sunday, yesterday, before we recorded. We have been recording on Mondays a lot because there's been so much happening on Sundays that we're like, let's just wait and see how this plays out ever since Donald Trump's birthday. So Saturn, which is structure and also authority, and it's this harsh, unyielding energy sometimes, has gone retrograde in Aries. And I hope that does. We did say that maybe that would cool down the war machine. And there is a bit of like a standstill, or at least there was when I looked at the news this morning.
Well, because China is intervening. So this is, since we're on the subject of China, President Xi Jinping, who has the same birthday as Trump, weirdly enough, two Geminis, June 14th Geminis. So China is now offering its protection to Middle Eastern nations. So the BRICS coalition, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, Saudi Arabia, and then the United Arab Emirates joined in 2024. So they formed their own global coalition to support each other, and obviously not support the interests of the West particularly. But now Xi and China are offering protection. They're supplying Iran with weapons. So it used to be that the United States was big daddy, savior, protector, and now China's stepping in to be that. Basically kicking
That's what happens
at everything,
That's what happens when the leader of a country lies consistently, takes money, and doesn't keep their promises, and the money disappears. I mean, we're running out of oil, but didn't we capture Nicolas Maduro from Venezuela for oil, supposedly?
Well, that oil it's not refined, so it's not usable. It needs too much processing to be usable at this. It's not ready to go in the barrels. And we're also running out of munitions, I hear too, although Trump is saying, no, we're not. To get a straight answer, it's just, can we just stop this war already? Saturn in Aries, but
it's about as clear as Mitch McConnell's proof of life at this point.
Exactly. Really? That's a good segue into talking about the South Node in Leo, because Leo does rule those kings and queens and leaders. And what's the medicine here that we are supposed to learn? And there's a reordering happening of global leaders. Who is really in charge around here? Who has the power? And are these power struggles an existential threat to human beings?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so Leo energy is an interesting player in the summer, on the summer stage of the sky, because a month ago on June 30th, Jupiter, which is expansion and growth and luck, went into Leo until next July. And that is a year-long cycle where whoever has Jupiter in their sign has a lot of growth, and they can really shine and have all this opportunity. It's not always easy. It's not everything that you want to grow is what grows. Yeah. But this one, now it was a fun month, but now the South Node, which is that shadow work, has also gone into Leo, and it's going to be there till March 2028. So it's going to be a little bit of a cloud over that Jupiter and Leo party, or it's you can party, but it's going to be a sober party a little bit. Or if it's
going to be a cover fee.
Yeah, it's like you're not going to get away with not doing some inner work, some shadow work. And Leo rules the ego, it rules grandiosity. It also rules creativity and art and childhood and playfulness. So it really is going to be up to us whether we use this energy for good or harm. And because the South Node is that sort of reactive, ego-driven part of our natures that we don't really have a good handle on, it can bring out this really sort of triggered and triggering part of people. We woke up this morning to two idiotic kind of cartoon and superhero movies from Kash Patel, mini AI movies.
The failed FBI director.
Yeah. on the even on the White House's X account. It's just so utterly childish, and not looking at how the rest of the world sees the United States. If they see that, like, your government can't even get along with itself. So we look
Childishness,
foolish, you know?
ego deaths, all just went ripe for the picking with this Leo South node.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about this the last few weeks, how Leos are going to kind of step into the spotlight in interesting ways and not always the best ways. I mean, Madonna has a new album that's one of the best she's had in years, and maybe the first she's had in years.
Let's talk about the Leos that are doing well. You know, Madonna, Dua Lipa, our favorite little zoo friend, Punch the monkey,
Who
just
just
turned
turned-
1 yesterday. Happy birthday to Punch! Apparently,
overcame isolation and loneliness and now takes care of
bullying.
all the little monkeys, you know.
If you don't follow the story of Punch the monkey, because not everybody does, he was a monkey born into a Japanese zoo a year ago yesterday, and was rejected by his mom and the other monkeys. So the zookeepers gave him this adorable orange IKEA monkey that became sort of his transitional object substitute family
Stuffed animal. Yep.
Yeah, so he like captured the hearts of of social media, and people started going to the zoo. Apparently he got over 2,500 cards sent to him. So he is the face of Leo as its highest expression, in my opinion, right now.
Well, because
So,
yeah, it's like he suffered an ego death. He, you know, he like the suffered isolation, shunning, and then he tapped into this courage that most humans don't have and came back.
they say we evolved from monkeys, but maybe it's the other way around.
Yeah, maybe so. On the other side of the nodal spectrum is an Aquarius who's also coming back from shunning and shame, and is gaining a lot of attention lately, and that's Aquarius Hunter Biden. Joe Biden's son, who was addicted to crack, had a scandal that was not really a scandal, but was played up to be one with
A
his
laptop.
laptop. He is making the rounds on media right and left. He's been on Don Lemon and Nick Fuentes.
Well, Nick Fuentes is a 1998 born Leo who I believe is in his Saturn return and has said some truly reprehensible things. He's part Mexican, but identifies as white. And, you know, he
started the Groyper movement.
Yeah,
like,
he's
he's a
stirred up so
misogynist,
much
he's a racist,
horrible.
self-avowed. He's basically a Nazi.
Yeah. So he's not well. He's
Some ways.
persuasive in a Leo way, but he does not have any of his stories or facts straight at all. So Hunter Biden is demonstrating this Aquarian ideal that I think the world is collectively being called to evolve into sort of this new, calm, enlightened energy. I don't even want to just attribute it to men, because women have become very reactive as well. It's just sort of like, but it's a little more bodhisattva than bro if we're talking about men. Zoran Mamdani has this as well. It's a sort of like untriggerable, unmessable with kind of calm that is providing this sort of counterforce to the child. It almost just is holding up a mirror to the childish bullying, or at least shining a light on it without even trying, just by refusing to take the bait. And I know how freaking hard that is. Like, I'm not very good at it myself. It's a daily process.
It's not even, it's also beyond just not taking the bait. I think Hunter Biden, even beyond Mamdani, because Mamdani has to be political.
Yeah.
But Hunter Biden is just saying, like, the best thing that happened to him is that he was, stripped naked, sometimes literally in the public square. There's like naked pictures of him in a hotel smoking crack that have circulated. He's like owning every piece of it, which is one of the hardest things to do. but like he feels so free because there's nothing. He's achieved the sort of enlightened state by just being completely like at one with his shadow, and like, I did that. Yes, that was me. Yes, so like he's unfuckable with, because no one can
He has
say
nothing to
anything.
defend.
There's
He's not
nothing to
defending.
lose. Yeah. So I mean,
Defenseless in a way. So yeah. So when I was watching him interact with Nick Fuentes, and just he has this ability to like call things out in this way that feels very wise, and I'm noticing how it like makes these guys stop a little bit in their tracks. It doesn't make him, I mean, Nick Fuentes is still immature, defensive, and digging in his heels to his right to say stupid, racist, horrible,
and harmful
misogynistic
things.
Yeah. And just coming up with the most idiotic defenses. Like he was saying, there was some all white neighborhood or settlement or something like that started in the South. And he actually was fighting with Nick Fuentes was fighting with them, but he was like likening, how all black neighborhoods in Chicago where he lives are white people had white flight, moved to the suburbs, and now they don't have their own neighborhoods. I mean, it was just like his logic is so. But Hunter Biden just like calmly was correcting him, like, actually, it's because the mayor segregated all the neighborhoods and wouldn't let Black people, African Americans, live anywhere else but there. So, I mean, but he has a way of correcting. Maybe it comes from his 12-step work and the ego death work. What's also interesting is, but the way he does it, it just doesn't create this shouting match.
Well, people have been saying, like, why would you go on Nick Fuentes? Why would you go, Don Lemon, and then, grilled him on that? And, why would you go on with Candace Owens, who's also, known for just.
I didn't even know that.
But he was like, I'm not going to platform myself. I'm going to get this message of unification, of like, we're not that different from each other, out to their listeners. Like, that's his thing. He's like, he has a very clear purpose of, unification,
and getting Donald Trump out of. I also saw he was like, anyone who opposes Donald Trump, I'll go on their podcast. So it's like, this is, this is edgy. It's like not something that I would want to see a lot of people doing by any stretch, because Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens do not deserve to have more attention and views. But if anyone is going to do it, I feel like he is the perfect infiltrator, because I can imagine someone watching that and listening to him and hearing, wow, he sounds like your soul knows the truth. I remember when Joe Biden in 2020 was debating Donald Trump, and just I hadn't really paid that much attention to him because it was like Obama was a Leo and was so charismatic. You're like, all right, that's just like the Scorpio sidekick that he picked or whatever. But I remember just being really impressed by how Joe Biden had that same way of kind of holding his own in the debate. Let's not talk about 2024's disaster, but the 2021, I remember just being like, similar reaction, just like, look at that. Wow, you don't really see that anymore. You don't really see men behaving with that level of character quite like that anymore.
Well, they're not getting platformed, and they're out there. People of, but we've all.
They're not, the spotlight's never on them.
But it's also, this is what the chaos of the last, since 2016, really on and off, the divisions that, there's always going to be, I think it's human nature to be like, oh, you're different than me. Okay. But the inflaming of them, the preying on people's fear of the other, of what's different, has turned us all into, like, I mean, very much the Virgo South Node, Pisces North Node, like our nervous systems. I always think of those signs as being like paranoid and anxious and anxiety and neurotic, like the fear that, that's the whole strategy. Prey on people's fear, make them scared of each other.
There was one moment where Hunter Biden was getting a little bit heated, and Nick Fuentes was like, well, you're not hearing me or something. And he was like, you're right, let me listen. And I was like, wow, that is a power move to listen. To be able to be like, wow, I can sit in this and make space. And actually, the person who is the listener is often viewed as the weaker person, but they're actually the stronger person. And interestingly, I was looking at his human design, and his sun is actually lined up with the gate of the listener.
Hunter Biden's?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Which is in one of the most powerful parts of the human design body graph, the G center. It's called where love and identity and purpose come from. So he's born February 4th, 1970. So he and Nick Fuentes both have Virgo and Pisces nodes as well. So Hunter Biden is a Pisces North node. Nick Fuentes is a Pisces South node. So
interesting.
A lot of people with those nodes struggle with addiction or fact versus fantasy, fact versus confusion. So Virgo's cold, hard facts and that precise persuasive communication. And then Pisces, which is like just putting sort of this hypnotic spell on people, which both of them have the capacity to do, I would say. But it's interesting to see that they're opposite sun signs. Their sun signs, Leo and Aquarius, are what the nodes are going into now. They both just finished a nodal return for Hunter Biden, opposition for Nick Fuentes. And a nodal opposition sometimes ends with you sort of questioning yourself. And I don't know, I saw a little bit like Nick Fuentes denounced Trump I think he already had. But he started telling people to vote Democrat partway through his nodal opposition. I don't want to give the guy any credit.
Well, Hunter Biden is maybe a message of redemption, that redemption is possible if you do the work, which is kind of I think of that as a very Pisces, baptismal Virgo, like kind of a message at the end of Virgo Pisces. It's like, maybe you have sinned, but you can redeem yourself. But, I don't know how it works being a Jew. I'm sorry. I'm not going to go into any kind of scripture. That's another thing that has happened with these nodes. Like people have started putting scripture in their Instagram bios. And
speaking of Instagram, there's a trend that I thought personified the weird combination of the South Node and Jupiter and Leo. So, Leo is pride at one end of the spectrum, and then it's this foolish, egoic bravado at the other end. So I think listening is, again, the thing to underscore. Like, I keep seeing a lot of mostly women influencers, like 5 reasons to unfollow me coming up in my feed. And it's sort of this weird confession, like, I don't believe in antidepressants, or it's like there's always like sort of a Maha coded thing or like a weird religious thing. Like I've noticed a lot of it like being about God has become sort
but
of
it's all about
word.
Me. That's where
it's all about them.
Unfollow me, and here, let me tell you about me.
And it's also this kind of like, you can hate on me, but I don't even notice because I'm just here living my best life. And it's like a soft girl version of the same Fox News bullheaded kind of energy of like, I don't have to listen to you because I don't care what you have to say. We're not listening to each other. We're not even willing to hear if someone has any kind of useful feedback. It's one thing if someone's just out there to bully you, but a lot of these people have built platforms and gained wealth by saying things that persuaded people to follow them and buy from them and that kind of thing. And then to sort of have them then turn on the people that have supported them, or just be like, you can unfollow me if you don't like what I'm doing. You got me here, but I'm going to just like it feels very narcissistic discard. Like I love bombed you.
Yeah.
Now I'm devaluing you, and now I'm going to discard you. That's the narcissistic cycle. So it's
we listen to our, sometimes it's hard. We listen to feedback from everyone who reads or, subscribes or listens to us. Do we always agree with it? Do we take it and do what people say? No, not.
We discuss it though. I mean, when our
Yeah.
team gets an email with feedback, we all talk about it and go, what do you guys think? We think about it and we try to see if there's any validity. We try to hear the person and go, well, what is it that they're bothered by that, that maybe we could do differently. It's partnership and collab. That's what the Aquarius North Node is about. All of us looking at ourselves in partnership and collaboration with each other, not like I'm the guru up here. You can unfollow me because you're replaceable. I mean, speaking of that, again, one of the things that happened in tech and astro news, which I did an Instagram about, was the astrology app CoStar as well. I mean, maybe an egregious example of that. So CoStar, I think it came out in like 2019 or so, and or at least it got like $5 million of venture capital. Yeah, it was like it kind of disrupted the whole astrology market because it was the first app to get funded. Our friend and fellow astrologer Eliza Kelly had started an app that was quite similar to it called Align, but it was a little ahead of its time. And CoStar came along doing something similar, and so did the Pattern, but at the right time for the market, I guess. And so they got funded. And I mean, for us, it's been good because so many more people in the world have now done their charts and learned some astrology.
To a degree, it's been good, but we also have to correct, like, our relation, there's a lot of like, how do you get along with each other? Oh, here's one emoji to sum up your entire relationship. Or people are like, well, I didn't go on a date with him because CoStar said our Mars energy was like,
oh God, the content was not what it did that I think was good was it was a gateway drug into astrology for people. What wasn't good is it didn't give people accurate information all the time because it was always openly AI generated. And then I have people say like, well, my Pattern app told me this. It's like going to a doctor, which I'm sure people do too, and being like, well, Google told me that I have a kidney stone. I don't care what your MRI says. I'm going to tell you what Dr. Google said. So, I mean, on a lesser scale, people do that to astrologers a lot of the times. And if you're one of them, don't. But more than anything, I think it's, CoStar would purposely do like sort of antagonistic and even sort of fear mongering things sometimes.
And so what happened is that CoStar was sold. They were bought by Midjourney, which is an AI image creation app. They're one of the biggest like early AI companies. And so now as a result of that, all the data you inputted, is now
we don't know for sure, but it could be. Yeah. It could be everything that you've ever told CoStar. I don't know what their data and privacy policy is, but anything that is fair game now belongs to a larger company. So a lot of people in fear are deleting their accounts and apps from CoStar because they haven't been transparent about what that means for people. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they think, we'll just sign up some new people or they'll sign back up later. Maybe I don't know. The founder of CoStar is now working for Midjourney in an executive role. And I feel like Midjourney, I read, is like going into a few different sectors, including maybe some medical device or imaging. So it's very strange. And I mean, astrology apps, medical, those are all things that really mine more than the usual data points from people. They get birthdays, they get interests, they get location data and that kind of thing. So are they out to acquire apps and companies that will get people to give really granular data? And if so, what are they planning to do with it? So
well, there's an article here on Unheard. This is a site I haven't seen before, but they say, yeah, it's an Unheard site. So it seems Midjourney is apparently seeking to map the entire human experience during a time when people are asking, often with a touch of desperation, what does it mean to be human? Unlike companies selling AI primarily as a way to be more productive, replace the need for human labor, or even expand the frontier of what is knowable, Midjourney's ambitions are organized around beauty and reflection. I smell a rat?
Make any sense?
I mean, bullshit.
It's a bunch of BS. It's word salad, but also like, what if the mystery of being human is not solvable? Like, why do we need to solve every mystery? We've been asked by people, like, could you just make an AI version of yourselves that reads my chart for me? And I'm like, we could try, but it wouldn't necessarily be reliable. I wouldn't know what it was telling you, and I wouldn't necessarily stand behind it. Like, and also like, talk about a spiritual and emotional bypass. Like, what if that would cheat you? What if you're winning the battle but losing the war? Like, why incarnate as a soul if the mystery of life is already figured out and solved? I know there's human suffering, but the learning of astrology is what helps with that, not
the
being
learning
injected
of
with
spirituality,
answers.
the learning of why is how our souls grow and develop. Not having everything just, okay, here you go. Here's, I mean, I think that was the parable, of the Adam and Eve story. They ate from the tree of knowledge and were banished from the Garden of Eden. It's like, to know everything when you're in this incarnated state, is maybe that's not the point. Maybe the point is the discovery of it all. We're in such a rush to know that we miss the discovery. When I used to go to Burning Man years ago, and I went 12 years in a row from 2007 on, but there was a map, and every year there's, a huge structure, which is an effigy of a man that gets burned. And then there's a temple. And for a long time, this incredible artist, David Best, would design it. It was often built from he would get the throwaway pieces from a wooden toy factory and do interlocking pieces and put them together. And they'd look like these incredible ancient temples. Stunning. And a lot of my friends, they would go online, look it all up, learn everything about it before we would go on the trip. And I refused to do that because I knew I was going to be there all week. And there was just that feeling of, you get to the playa. It's called, you take this long trip. It's a 13-hour drive from Washington State, Reno being the nearest big city. It was a few hours. And then you just get there and you're kind of tired and you're worn out. But I like to wake up the next morning, get on my bike, ride across this dried lake bed and just be to see that temple rising up in the morning light. It was like not knowing what to expect and
wonder and awe.
Wonder and awe. Yeah.
It's really good for your brain. Wonder and awe. This is exactly why we just released our Human Design for Astrologers course, because, as I've been teaching it and putting it all together, the theme that has really emerged for me to underscore is in human design. So human design is a system that was transmitted to a man named Ra Uru Hu. Well, that became his name in 1987. And it's a combination of astrology and the 3,000-year-old Book of Changes, or I Ching, which is a Chinese divination system that uses hexagrams, these lines of yin and yang combinations. And then it's basically your birth chart filtered through a second layer of wisdom and then mapped onto the body instead of houses. If you've ever seen your wheel chart, the planets show up in houses. Well, instead of houses, which are kind of out there areas of life, a little more abstract, they're in your body. And the body is not just your physical body, but your aura, your energy, your electromagnetic field, your emotions, your intuition, your being. And what really is underscored in human design is that we have our mind and our body. So you have two charts in human design. You have your birth chart, which represents your mind. The mind is really the personality, the outward you, the you that you show the world, it's really kind of the ego in a lot of ways. It is who you are, but to a point. And then you have what's called a pre-birth or prenatal chart, which is 88 days before you were born. And that's the chart of your soul and your body. So human design uses astrology, but it distinguishes between your overused mind and the power of your body. And in the body, in human design, you have what's called your authority. It's a place to make decisions from, whether it's your emotions, your solar plexus, your sacral center, which is your gut, or other places. There's 7 different places that we teach about. And I'm really taking away from it that the mind is overused. The monkey mind, it's called, no offense to you, Punch, but the monkey mind, the mind is guilty of ruminating, obsessing, analysis paralysis. How many times have we said, I'm just going to go think about it? And we don't get any closer to a decision because we're looking for answers from a place that they don't really exist, from an outer authority versus from an inner authority. So it's really interesting once you start to map that and taking it apart and seeing it through the astrology and then the I Ching layered over the astrology, which is the 8 elements that are in feng shui. It's all kind of, it sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, but we're teaching it one piece at a time. So it progressively learns. So the point, taking that full circle back to mystery and awe and wonder and not having to know everything. There's a knowing with the awe inspired part of yourself. And there's the, oh my God, I can't handle being out of control and not knowing what's going to happen at Burning Man. So I have to research every single thing. I have to already see what the art is going to look like. And then when I see it, I'll feel safe because I already knew what it was going to be. But I won't feel awe, probably, at least not to the level I could have, because I could not get out of my mind, trust, and release enough control to be able to experience and hold the energy of awe. So in this Aquarius is about idealism and the future. It is about awe and wonder and discovery. Space exploration falls under Aquarius. Astrology does. So we just officially opened Human Design for Astrologers 8 minutes before the Aquarius North Node. We timed it to go live right then with the first couple of modules of it. It's a self-paced course. If you're interested, it's open at humandesignforastrologers.com. We'll drop the link for it. So it's actually a multi-course meal, not a microwavable meal. I've learned, and I'm really enjoying not having things that are just instant. I think that's a positive outcome of like too much AI and Uber Eats and a world that gives us everything we want on demand. Like that's nice to a point, but I think that people also want to have to strive and struggle and grapple with things. We don't want to struggle with our day-to-day lives and the cost of living and all the other unnecessary struggles in our society, but to dance with the search for wisdom in ourselves and our own reactive human nature and to see how we can be better.
And it's actually good for preventing dementia, to challenge your brain, to learn, to keep reading, learning, figuring out puzzles and solving problems. So without that, our brains literally do atrophy. You know what I really love? I've learned so much about human design. For the longest time, it was like, okay, I'm a generator. I'm a sacral generator 6-2. How on earth did you figure that out? And that's why we went to town figuring out why. And I think that's something that we just love to do, is to like learn complex systems and then decode them. Everyone in our family had, spoke a different native language. We were raised with our grandparents who were Holocaust survivors. Our grandfathers spoke German, our grandmother spoke French, and then our dad spoke Hebrew, and our mom was the only native English speaker. So everyone had a different accent, different expressions. And then we got put into this public school where we were like a couple of the only Jewish kids there. So our whole lives have been about like trying to piece together information that's from all these different places. And I feel like that really came in handy for teaching astrology and teaching human design. My favorite things that I've learned about human design is that you don't have a rising sign, but you have an earth sign. So you have your sun sign, which in our case is Sagittarius. And then directly across from that is the earth sign, which is Gemini. And then our pre-birthday, we wind up being Virgos. 88 days before we were born is September 5th. And then our earth sign there is Pisces. So those 4 signs, those 4 points make what's called your incarnation cross. So there's these literally these 4 places on the zodiac, and then each one hits one of the 64 gates of the I Ching. So they all correspond. So we're 9, 16, 64, 63, those 4 numbers make this cross shape across the zodiac wheel. Learning the interplay, you've called them the big 4. You have your big 3 in astrology. Like knowing your big 4 is so amazing. The sun goes around through the 12 signs of the zodiac simultaneously. Imagine it's going around through these 64 gates. So on December 2nd, the sun was in Sagittarius. It's also in gate 9 every year. That's our magic number. Yeah, so that's one of the things that you'll look at in the Human Design for Astrologers course. You'll find your big 4, your incarnation cross. You'll understand what the gates are, and also how all of these things activate the different chakras and energy systems in your body. It's really cool. It's like a somatic astrology. How does your chart and your birthday show up in your physicality, in your body, so that you can find blocks, unblock energy, make decisions, get unstuck.
Some of you guys have already signed up for Human Design for Astrologers. And if you're intrigued, head over to humandesignforastrologers.com. You can see everything that you're going to learn in there. And it also includes 2 free courses, our birth chart basics course. If you're new to astrology and you don't fully understand the planet signs and houses, you can learn to read a chart in under an hour. And then there's also a pre-course, Human Design 101, that goes over the types, the authorities, the strategies, all the sort of standard human design that you've seen maybe up until now with the body graph, and learning the history of human design and why things are. Because it's going to be important to know that later on in Human Design for Astrologers, even though we're working with the astrological view of it. And just for your own curiosity, because like Tali said, maybe you're hearing people saying, oh, I'm a manifesting generator, or 5-1, or sacral. And you're like, what are they talking about? But what does that mean? That's how it begins. So all of that is explained in the 101 course, which is 8 modules, and it'll walk you through everything that you've seen on the chart. And then we'll dive into Human Design for Astrologers, and you'll learn how to read your birth chart through the map of your body, your energy fields, somatic astrology. And it's actually really exciting to think about making the bridge between astrology and the human design system, which is astrology as one of its layers.
Thanks to everyone who has already joined the course, and hope you're having fun getting started. And thank you also to anyone else who signs up this week. It's a self-paced course. You have it for life. So you'll be able to do it on your own schedule and your own time. Now, let's move on to Wednesday of this week, where all the action is happening. We have the Day of Miracles and the Aquarius full moon. So, the Aquarius new moon that we had on February 17th of this year. So the new moon is kind of the starting block, and then the full moon is the manifestation. The Aquarius new moon on February 17th was a solar eclipse. So because we have the nodes in Virgo, Pisces, now moving into Aquarius and Leo, a lot of the new and full moons in Pisces and Virgo will be eclipses or have been. We had a Virgo total lunar eclipse this spring on March 3rd. August 12th, we have the Leo new moon, total solar eclipse. And then August 28th, we have a Pisces full moon, and that's a lunar eclipse. So we're in that. Now, this Aquarius full moon is not an eclipse,
but it is the kind of culmination of the February 17th Aquarius new moon, which was not only an eclipse, it was the kickoff of the year of the fire horse, which has been getting lots of mileage because it sounds so cool, intense though it may be. So,
well, yeah, that
love
Aquarius,
the idea of a fire horse. Yeah,
I mean, I love the idea of a fire horse. You know, who doesn't love a good flaming Pegasus? We have this full moon dovetailing with the just fresh entrance of the North Node into Aquarius. And I think it's a call to collaborate, a call to find that humanity that connects us, a call to also like examine technology and what are we doing here? We've had so much, eclipses can hide information. There's a shadow. The sunlight is blocked by the moon from our vantage point during what happened on February 17th. And so we had a darkened sun on February 17th. So what was the light? What wanted to happen there? So this full moon this Wednesday could illuminate. Elon Musk just had a meltdown, I think.
He's just started his North Node return. He's got an Aquarius North Node, and the wildfires that have been the wild in Canada, now in France and Spain. They're just
so sad.
How people come together, Leo's a fire sign, but how people come together or don't. The United States hasn't sent any aid to Canada, yet they came and helped with the wildfires in California, really seeing stinginess versus generosity of spirit. And Aquarius also rules politics. So the Michigan primaries in our home state have become of national interest. Governor Gretchen Whitmer, who's a Virgo, the South Node's leaving her sign, but she's born in 1971. So she has an Aquarius North Node. She's also starting her North Node return in the hot seat because she chose to endorse the cancer candidate, Haley Stevens, versus Abdul Al-Sayed, who's a Scorpio, who a lot of people like. And it's getting really heated there. There's a lot of tension also because of his Arab heritage, which is, Michigan and Detroit especially have one of the largest Arab populations outside of the Middle East. That's what we grew up around, growing up in Detroit. So that was part of our Middle Eastern misfit upbringing, as we like to call it. Something we're really grateful for, that we grew up in such a diverse upbringing. It's just bringing in so many different polarizing issues with, everything from APAC endorsements to on down. And, this Aquarius full moon is going to be one of I don't think it's a breaking point yet, but it's a lot of that fire horse, fire and ire coming to a full moon head. Full moons, very emotional, very heated. Aquarius is a sign of emotional detachment, but I still think that the full moon could be, a lot that has been brewing since mid-February can come into the open now.
Yeah, and it's really, the fact that it's happening on the same day as the Day of Miracles is interesting because there's some push-pull going on. So the Day of Miracles, once a year, Jupiter, mighty Jupiter, the largest planet in our solar system, hits the same degree in the zodiac as the sun. And Jupiter basically visits one sign per year, most years. So last year we had it in Cancer, and this year it's in Leo. So the last time that happened was 2014. Basically, every 12 years, you tend to have the Day of Miracles in the same sign. It's been called the Day of Miracles since like 2019. I think somebody wrote an article. I wish I knew his name.
Maybe
for Cosmo.
Susan Miller or no, someone
No,
else.
it was actually a Cosmo astrologer who called it that, I think.
It's a nice name, but to be honest, like Jupiter has a bit of a spectrum to, I mean, the sun is leadership. The highest expression of a sun Jupiter conjunction is Jupiter being the wisdom, truth seeker, the
benefic. It's it's like a bountiful planet that has, mostly positive connotations.
And the sun is leadership,
life-giving, life force
energy. But it can also
both of them too much of a good thing, it can be
too much. It can be a lot of ego too. Like Jupiter and the sun are both known for ego as well. It can be a little cocky, overly
and in
proud,
Leo, triple threat. I mean, talk about some peacocking. This should be a very interesting day. Like what, I think it could definitely. But in terms of the Day of Miracles, if you want to take that interpretation of it, miracles can come in the form of recognition. Someone might finally notice your efforts or see what you've been up to, or you might finally see, someone else's magnanimous gestures. Leo rules the heart, the spine. So you could grow some backbone or have this real big-hearted, open-hearted experience. It could be a great day for like any kind of long distance or international romance or entrepreneurial venture, even taking a big gamble. Jupiter is the gambler. So taking a chance on yourself. But again, because of the slippery slope involved, make sure that you have all your data and your facts in order. You don't want to just wildly swing. You want to make sure
what this means
something
that we have the Jupiter-Sun conjunction the same day as the full moon. The full moon is when the sun and moon are exactly opposite each other. So this also means that Jupiter is opposite the moon. Jupiter is aligned with the sun, which is kind of the masculine, but it's opposite the moon, which is a bit of the feminine. So an opposition can be polarizing, but also illuminating. So will Jupiter, what will this reveal about women? How will it help or not help women or families or children? What uncomfortable kind of an opposition is when two planets are as far apart as they possibly can be. So with the moon and Jupiter at polar opposite ends, that means that we need to build a bridge or look at where this disconnect might be happening. So miracles, I remember a few years ago, we said something about miracles being a pattern interruption.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So what patterns need to be interrupted by the truth, which is what Jupiter represents. Leo and Aquarius, the moon in Aquarius, Jupiter and Leo. Where do we need to have more heart? Where do we also need to set our emotions aside and do what's best for everybody else? Because emotions aren't always our friends. Our egos are not our amigos, and our emotions can have us reacting and doing things that are not also discerning and thoughtful too. So once again, like I was saying about human design, the mind and body are partners. They just have to play the right parts, the right roles.
Yeah.
So so we need to use and our souls as well. We need to bring it all into the equation on Wednesday at this Day of Miracles. It could be an incredible day for all the things you said: love, romance, artistry, connection, courage,
celebration.
Celebration. It could also be a day of illumination.
Yeah, and a day of Jupiter being the global planet, like a day, where maybe the miracle will be like a true end to a war, but a girl can dream, but it's like maybe there could be some interesting realignments of global powers as we're already seeing happen, or maybe some interventions, maybe different countries, maybe Europe forming a coalition with someone. I mean, it's like,
well, one of the things we said a couple weeks ago, we pointed out, was that Donald Trump's 2 terms have both involved Leo and Aquarius nodes. His first term in 2017 was with the North Node in Leo. So he's a Leo rising and he got the benefit of that. But it also tricked him into thinking he was more popular than maybe he is. So now I think is really one of the times that the light switch goes on. And, with the South Node in Leo, Donald Trump like swims in Leo's shadowy expression, from dipping everything in gold to just the way he operates. On one of Hunter Biden's posts that was really good was about the White House correspondent dinner, where Trump like revealed his plans to run for a 4th term and just made like all these horrible
term because he thinks that he won in 2020.
Right, exactly. He's like shading and trolling and saying that he actually won the election. And then, it's gaslighting and just the worst of it. Hunter Biden was talking about how humor is a capacity and how the capacity is earned by the person being able to laugh at themselves. And a person who's never laughed at themselves has never been able to empathize and stand in someone else's shoes and see themselves as the subject, or not as the main character in everything. So he said it a lot more articulately. But I thought, this Aquarius North Node, Leo South Node, people like that are going to have their egos sublimated by it's like, think about the Leo energy that's shadowy going down underground below the surface. You know what's down there. So going there, and I don't know, I think I'm going to be really interested to see how that has sort of maybe a corrective effect on all of us. We all are humans, and we can all go too far with ego expressions. So I will be very curious to see if the Aquarius North Node calls us into.
It might take a while. We have till March 26th, 2028. So I don't think we should expect overnight results, as it turns out. I mean, the Ukrainian war is now overlapping with the Iranian war because of Russia and the Caspian Sea. So many converging forces with Saturn and Neptune retrograde in Aries. Again, we have to find our place inside of all this turmoil. And that's one of the hardest things about the fire horse year. It's like, just when you think things you're gonna slow down to a nice, gentle, stroll, things start picking up and the hooves start kicking up again. And it is that kind of year. It's a 1 year in numerology. Now we have all the outer planets are in fire and air signs now for quite some time. The rest of the year and a couple years hence. So we just have to accept that things are going to be moving in this very frenetic way, but then come back into the body. That's, again, a little human design plug there, but the importance of grounding. Now that the South Node is out of Virgo, I do think maybe it won't interfere with the grounding as much, and Virgos should all be feeling very relieved right now because you guys have been through it the last 20 months. Virgos have been, but I feel like Leos have the luck of having Jupiter there to kind of mitigate some of it, but Leos have been going through it too. So I hope the Leos really, catch a break, a little bit of a break, unless they're JD Vance or Todd Blanche, the acting attorney general, who basically covered up the Epstein files. So
oh my God. That is one of the things about knowing your human design. So every week, the sun, as it travels through the degrees of a zodiac sign, lines up with one of those gates as well and gives us sort of a collective, just like we're in Leo season now for a month, for about 5 days of a month, we're going to be also simultaneously in one of the gates that lines up with Leo. So there are two of them that we're going through this week. Until Friday, the sun is in gate 31, the gate of influence. So it's really about speaking up and using our words to be influential, to impact a situation. And after that, from July 31st to August 5th, gate 33, the gate of retreat and privacy, which is interesting because you wouldn't think of that as a Leo gate. What I also really like about the I Ching combination is that, some Leos are a little quieter sometimes. And
just picture them sunning themselves in the Serengeti.
Right,
exactly. They could be some lazy Leos. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, both of these gates are in the throat, so they do need to speak. But like Barack Obama's gate 33, the gate of retreat and privacy. And it's about them kind of like stepping back and then speaking. Friday until the middle of next week to use your words, but say less. Say, or
that feels sort of like the mindfulness that we get from the Leo Aquarius push pull. Like Leo is like, I'm here, I'm expressive. And Aquarius is like, wait, slow down, kind of cool down, use some logic, think it through. And I mean, that makes sense even for the gate of influence as well as the gate of retreat, because saying less, but saying something powerful can, like thinking it through, that really tracks with what's going on, even with Saturn retrograde in Aries. Like, don't lead with that desire to just be seen and make a splash. It's like, if you're going, just step forward with that authenticity, like we were talking about earlier on with Hunter Biden, the new poster child for the Aquarius North Node, at least for the moment. So
one thing that's been really interesting is that we started our astrology career when the North Node was in Leo in around 1999, 2000. The South Node was in Aquarius, the North Node was in Leo. But as I'm talking about human design, I'm very present to, this could sound like a bunch of like, what are they talking about? Because it's this new language that hasn't been quite as unleashed as astrology has. It's only been around since 1987, understandably. So, I'm remembering though, when we first started writing astrology, how I'd have to like slowly and carefully explain everything. And I think we found Susan Miller's astrology zone at that time. And she did just such a great job of breaking things down and explaining through the myths and stories. And so I'm reminded that at one time, astrology was really not known by the mainstream the way it is today. And I'm curious to see if, as we move into this new era, as human design turns 40 and we start this new 400-year cycle in 2027 in human design, if it's going to become this new kind of embodied language.
All right, everyone. So good luck integrating into this new energy. Leave those supplements behind if they weren't working and roll out your meditation mat. Keep the ones that were. We're moving into such a different time. Like, I can't even think of a weirder sort of shift from Virgo to Leo and from Pisces to Aquarius. We're going from this very this rigidity of Virgo perfectionism to this creativity of Leo, heart-centered. And then this Pisces sort of la 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 into this Aquarius, more detached, methodical energy. So
I think what's weird about it is that because the nodes go backwards, the zodiac is meant to progress from one sign to the next. So we have Leo's kind of childlike energy, and then it matures into Virgo's discernment. So to go from
that's true
Virgo to Leo is a little bit like, are we regressing here? Or, we're not, because everything is designed the way it's designed, but that's partly what makes it feel so abrupt and unnatural in some ways.
Right.
But frankly, I'm ready for some Aquarius energy. Pisces was interesting, but it was very confusing too. So I'm ready for some Aquarian idealism and community, and hopefully, humanity, people coming together. So we'll celebrate that at the Aquarius full moon this week. I hope that positive miracles come your way that day as well for the Sun-Jupiter conjunction. And we'll see you next week. We'll see you in Human Design for Astrologers if you join us for that. We have birth chart readings, some openings, astrostyle.com/readings. And later this week, monthly horoscopes on Friday, coming live, August monthly horoscopes. So we will see you next week.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in to AstroTwins Radio. If today's episode gave you an aha moment, we'd be over the moon if you left us a 5-star review. It helps fellow astrology lovers find us. And make sure to hit subscribe and follow us on iTunes and Spotify so you never miss an episode. Want the full visual experience? You can also watch the video version on our YouTube at AstroTwins-TV. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at AstroTwins and head over to astrostyle.com to read your free daily, weekly, and monthly horoscope that we write for you with love. Until next time, move with intention and let the universe meet you there.